From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Kayode Okikiolu.
Tonight, we remain committed to clearing bandits in the Northwest, Chief of Defense Staff declares. Says Sunday's attack on an Air Force jet in Zamfara State will not deter ongoing operations. Federal and state high courts in Anambra order INEC to list Uba and Soludo as candidates of the PDP and ABGA for the November governorship election in the state. Well, ahead of the 2023 general elections, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party meet in Makurdi, the Benue state capital, for crucial talks towards repositioning the party. And UK, US and EU accuse China of carrying out major cyber attack affecting at least 30,000 organizations globally earlier this year. Plus, business, sports, news from Abuja, and later international news from our London studio.
On business news tonight, mining sector gets a boost as UK firm moves to invest up to $50 million in gold exploration in Nigeria.
On sports news tonight, International Olympic Committee IOC encourages athletes and officials taking part in the Olympics to show support for the Olympic truce.
And from Abuja, the president urges synergy among federal agencies to actualize his vision of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty within 10 years.
The fight against banditry is getting intense, with the latest onslaught resulting in an attack on a Nigerian Air Force fighter jet, which eventually crashed along the boundaries between Zamfara and Kaduna states on Sunday. Well, luckily, the pilot of the Alpha jet, Flight Lieutenant Abayomi Dairo, successfully ejected from the aircraft and was later rescued by a combined team of the Nigerian Air Force and the Army. In a statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information at the Nigerian Air Force, Air Commodore Edward Gapquet, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amo, had directed that all efforts to ensure his rescue be activated. The Air Force says, despite the setback occasioned by the crash, the force remains committed towards fulfilling the President's mandate, as well as other constitutional roles assigned to it. For the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, the Flight Lieutenant displayed gallantry prowess to survive the battle. The Defense Chief is also soliciting for support and inputs from retired military officers and other crucial stakeholders to contain the security challenges bedeviling the Northwest and the country in general. He made the comment in Kaduna State.
We had an operational engagement to which one of our aircraft was downed. And since yesterday, we've been looking for the pilot, but thankfully this morning we have had him rescued, and of course he is right here in Kaduna and on his way, of course, about now for further medical checkup, and I had to, stimulate, and so the time it took me to have him flown in and then to speak to our officers who are engaged in the operation, and to have a very detailed chat with him was what led to the slight delay that we now have. So thankfully we have them. It was the downing of the aircraft was due to the banditry action, and but thankfully as a trained pilot, fighter pilot, he was able to leave out the line, and of course the other measures that were put in place enabled him to be rescued. I thought I should also use the opportunity to indicate that the very essence of this gathering, which is of course to engage with you and by extension the larger society, is partly what was responsible for the safe return of our cherished pilot.
Meanwhile, the military is still recording some gains in the fight against terrorists after they laid an ambush on an identified terrorist crossing point along Banki Junction, Mayanti Road in Borno State to prevent movement of terrorist logistics. At the ambush site, the vigilant troops came in contact with the unsuspecting terrorists and neutralized 3 of them, while others escaped with gunshot wounds. In a separate operation, troops also arrested suspected Boko Haram terrorists who surrendered to troops along with their families while fleeing their enclaves following continuous bombardment of their hideouts by troops of the battalion. The arrested suspects comprised of 11 adult male terrorists, 5 adult females, and 12 children. In the meantime, over in Zamfara State, Governor Bello Matawalle has given assurances that his government will work with security agencies to track down the bandits that ambushed the police on Sunday and bring them and their sponsors to justice. He vowed to get justice for the 13 officers that were killed and the 7 injured following the attack on a mobile police camp in Kuramota village, Bungudu local government area. The police officers were ambushed at a mobile police camp at Kuramota area where they were stationed as part of efforts by government to fight banditry in the state. More than 70 women abducted by bandits in Zamfara State have been released. The victims were abducted on June the 7th in Malila community under Densado district of Maru local government area. But the police public relations officer in the state, Mohammed Shehu, told Channels Television that the victims are currently on their way to the state capital. Well, away from security, motorists and marketers using the Kara livestock market along the boundary between Lagos and Ogun State have been advised to do their businesses without infringing on the rights of other road users. The police and the Federal Road Safety Corps are asking the motorists to act responsibly or risk losing their vehicles. Their heads in Lagos State were speaking during the declutter exercise of the gridlock, which is blamed on the Kara market in Ogun State.
Traffic around the Kara-Opik axis on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway has been hectic over the past few days. It stretches as far as Berger in Lagos State and extends beyond Mowe, a distance of about 21 kilometers in Ogun State. On a good day, it would have taken about 18 minutes to travel that distance, but not on a day like this.
3 years is abnormal. In a normal situation in this country, man. This ram market is supposed to be controlled.
I am coming from Shagam. I'm trying to go to the airport to go and catch my flight, but suddenly there was a heavy go-slow. So I left my people in the motor, they were coming.
The Ogun State government seems aware of the cause and sends men of the Ministry of Environment to address it. Their strategy is to relocate the livestock away from the road.
During this time of festive period, we do have emergency sellers of livestock. So we know that these people do cause traffic. So we are here to monitor the livestock trading and to move them inside so that we can have a free flow of vehicles.
Their civil approach seems to be working, but not for some defiant motorists. That soon changes when men of the Federal Road Safety Corps begin impounding vehicles. The arrival of the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State further changes the tone of things. More vehicles impounded, tires of several others deflated, sending jitters on defiant motorists. The leadership of the police and the Federal Road Safety Corps, both from Lagos State, insists the essence of their presence here is to bring some sanity on the expressway.
When it comes to commission of crime, when it comes to violation of rules and regulations, there is no jurisdiction. If this place is not, the extension they are going to have an effect of it on Lagos. Once this place is blocked, now that fund will be blocked. And by extension now, you are going to Bega. From Bega now, you are going to Tomiland Beach. So they are synergy when we work together. This place is Ogun State. The ripple effect of traffic here is affecting Lagos State.
When your vehicle creates an obstruction, your vehicle is towed. When you want it to become aggressive, we call for the support of armed agencies to support us, and that has been the trend. It's not an aggression, it's just a way of protecting the operatives. So we've been coping with them in the last 3 days, but it's quite overwhelming. You can see the traffic volume. And for all these people, to any single vehicle that creates an obstruction here, the backlog is always very high.
Traffic soon eases, and the law enforcers promise it will continue till the end of the festive season.
Meanwhile, the Zamfara State Police Command is beefing up security in the state ahead of the Eid al-Kabir celebrations with the deployment of over 2,000 policemen to various strategic locations in the 14 local government areas of the state. The State Police Commissioner says the strategy is to secure vulnerable places such as Eid praying grounds, recreational centers, major highways, government and private infrastructure against any security threat. He, however, warns parents and guardians to prevail on their children against any act capable of undermining the peace of the state. And in the nation's capital, Abuja, prices of livestock, food items, as well as other household goods have increased by over 100% as residents of the Federal Capital Territory shop for the Eid al-Kabir celebration. The food and livestock traders, however, attribute the rise to insecurity and the high cost of transporting the goods to the nation's capital, Abuja. At one of the livestock markets visited by Channels Television, buyers continue to groan over the economic situation in the country, calling on the government to put in place measures to check the rising costs of food items.
It's a beehive of activity at the livestock market as residents of the Federal Capital Territory engage in last-minute shopping just a few hours to the Eid al-Kabir celebration. The traders seem to be having a field day as they attend to customers who have come from far and near. But the prices this time are higher compared to last year.
So this thing like this size now, what we used to buy like 40, 50 before. Today I pay 100 and something for this one, which is not like that. But the one we bought last year was about 50,000, but today is 100, 120, 150.
The price is rising higher, unlike before. Before, as you can see, if you get 50,000, you can get a ram that you can kill and it's okay for you. But now 50,000, you cannot afford a ram that you feel like you eat meat or you slaughter it for this to celebrate Salah with your family.
One of the livestock sellers shares with us what he thinks is responsible for the increase.
A lot of people are not in the farms. People have been kidnapped and a lot of factors transporting these goods here. You know, what normally we used to transport it before with little amount. Now, because the transporters also consider the insecurity. So I think that is part of why the cost is very high now.
The mood at the Wuse market and the Gariki ultra-modern market is, however, different. Just a few buyers are on hand to shop. Prices of food items and other household goods have increased as customers bear their minds on the turnout of events, although figures by the National Bureau of Statistics show that the food index for inflation came down to 21.8% in June.
If you buy something today, come tomorrow to buy the same thing from the same place, they will be telling you another price. And we say, well, we don't have another choice than to buy it, so we buy.
As residents look forward to celebrating the Eid al-Kabir with family and friends, they can only hope that the prices of food and other household goods will decline after the festivities.
In part two, after the break, President Buhari applauds Nigerians for their sacrifice and patience in his solemn message. Plus, PDP governors from Benue and Rivers and the party's national chairman hold talks on leadership realignment in Makurdi ahead of the 2023 elections. Stay with us. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. We remain committed to clearing bandits in the northwest, Chief of Defense Staff declares. Says Sunday's attack on an Air Force jet in Zamfara State will not deter ongoing operations. Federal and state high courts in Anambra order INEC to list Uba and Soludo as candidates of the PDP and ABGA for the November governorship election in the state. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party meets in Makurdi, the Benue state capital, for crucial talks towards repositioning the party. And UK, US and EU accuse China of carrying out major cyber attack affecting at least 30,000 organizations globally earlier this year. The president is extolling the sacrifices of Nigerians as he urges patience and promises government's effort to address hardships in the country. The statement is contained in President Muhammadu Buhari's message to Muslims on the occasion of the Eid al-Kabir celebration. He also restates the determination of his administration to create a just, harmonious and prosperous country in which the safety of life and property is assured. President Buhari also reflected on the current challenges facing the country, noting that the COVID-19 pandemic has taken a heavy toll on the economies of all countries, including Nigeria, in addition to the fact that floods have caused large-scale destruction to agricultural farmlands. The president's statement reads in part, "As an elected president who enjoys the goodwill of the ordinary people that gave us their mandate, let me assure you that we are continuing with measures to bring relief to Nigerians. Let me also assure or use this opportunity to reassure Nigerians that we are taking measures to address our security challenges." Speaking on the significance of the Eid al-Kabir celebration, the president appeals to Muslims to demonstrate the good virtues of Islam through personal examples and practices. And the Kano state government says it is complying with the federal government's directive suspending all Eid al-Kabir festivities in 6 states, including Kano. The state government says the Eid prayers will be held in all the 5 emirates and mosques across the state. The state government adds that the measure is being adopted by Nigeria, like most parts of the African continent now facing a COVID-19 third wave after detecting the more transmissible Delta variant. And to politics, the People's Democratic Party has begun a leadership realignment ahead of the 2023 general elections, with the governors of Benue and Rivers states meeting with the national chairman of the party in Makurdi, the Benue state capital. Addressing journalists after the closed-door meeting, Governor Samuel Otom, who spoke on behalf of the PDP national chairman, Prince Uche Secondus, and his River State counterpart, Nyesom Wike, says the PDP has the mandate to rescue Nigeria come 2023, and this meeting is part of the process leading to that mandate. Governor Otom of Benue State also lamented the killing of Benue farmers, including 8 workers at Dumayi village in Guma local government area of the state last night, noting that until the federal government, which according to him, wines and dines with the leadership of the armed herdsmen, decides to end the atrocities, the killing may have to continue as he will not repeal the law banning open grazing to please herdsmen. Another meeting scheduled for July the 27th in Bauchi will also be part of efforts to reposition the party for service delivery.
One of my relations, who is an undergraduate in Benue State University 200 level, was also killed with 2 humanitarian workers by Fulani militia. This is unfortunate, and they even had the guts to send words to the person who called the phone of one of the murdered workers that they should tell me until I repeal the prohibition of open grazing law, otherwise they will continue the killing. That is the level of the impunity we are talking about, the injustice we are talking about in this country, the unfairness and the evil that is going on by these people. And we'll continue to cry out to the outer world to see the genocide that is going on here in Benue State and other parts of Nigeria. We're here to reason together, strategize, and see how we can make our party more vibrant, because the entire country, Nigeria, are waiting for the PDP to take over mantle of leadership in 2023. So we have to plan in a little way. We've been doing this meeting all over the country. We've traveled to a number of states. On the 27th, we're all going to be in Bauchi. All is to strategize and give confidence to Nigerian people who are calling on us to put our house in order so that they will join us to win elections.
But for legal matters, Justice Obiora Egwuatu of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has restrained the Zamfara State House of Assembly, the state chief judge and others from effecting the impeachment of the state deputy governor, Madi Gusau, of the People's Democratic Party. But Justice Egwuatu gave the order while delivering a ruling in an ex parte motion brought by the People's Democratic Party through its lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Ogu Onoja. The presiding judge, who ordered the defendants to maintain status quo pending the determination of the motion on notice, also stopped the House from impeaching its other members, who are still members of the PDP. He directed the plaintiff to serve all the defendants in the suit before Friday and adjourned the matter until July the 23rd for hearing of the motion on notice. The lawmakers in the state had threatened to impeach Gusau over activities they considered to be a threat to the security in the state.
We're able to secure an interim injunction against the governor, the chief judge, and then the House of Assembly for impeaching the deputy governor of Zamfara State, pending the determination of the motion on notice, which is now fixed for Friday. You know, this is a time now for us to see that the court enforce the rule of law. Political impunity, political banditry should be put to an end. That's why we're in court. And by God's grace, we know the court will do the right thing.
Two different courts sitting in Awka, the Anambra state capital, have ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to include the names of Senator Ugochukwu Ubah and Professor Charles Soludo as a candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the All Progressives Grand Alliance, ABGA, for the November 6, 2021 Anambra governorship election. In the case of the PDP candidates, the court presided over by Justice Obiora Nwabunike also awarded 10 million naira damages against the PDP, Mr. Val Ozigbo, the other candidate of the party, produced at the primary supervised by the leadership of the PDP. According to the judge, the primary that produced Ubah was the authentic one because there was a court ruling by Justice Adeniyi of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, which had not been vacated. In the case concerning the former Central Bank Governor, Chukwuma Soludo, another court presided over by Justice Sisi Oka directed INEC to publish the name of Professor Soludo as the candidate of ABGA. In the judgment, Justice Oka ordered INEC to remove the name of Honorable Chukwuma Merji from its list and ordered him to stop parading himself as a candidate of ABGA for the November election. The court also reaffirmed that Chief Victor Oye is the national chairman of ABGA and directed that Chief Edozie Njoku and Mr. Jude Okeke should stop parading themselves as chairmen. Both aspirants have been speaking on the outcome of the court judgment, and they were guests on our political program, Politics Today.
Well, at a personal level, you feel surprised at INEC that they could take the decision, and I'll come to that in a second, but also very comforted by the outpouring of support of thousands of people from all over the country and all over the world. The lives of estimated 20 million people from Anambra at home and abroad happen to be what is at stake in the entire thing. And I could see the outpouring of emotions and so on, to a point that actually took my intervention and that of major stakeholders of APGA and that of our governor as well, appealing to the people to remain calm, stopping people from getting to the streets to start protesting. But because we are confident that ultimately INEC will rise up to the responsibility to do the right thing, and the courts of law, of course, I have very implicit confidence that ultimately they will come through. So, today's on, not surprising, because the case is self-evident.
The court judgment made it clear those that constitute the ward and the local government executive also made it clear which of the factions constitute the legitimate state executives. And having done that, it became obvious. And if you also go to the constitution of the party, you also see on section 25, subsection 1, it clearly stated that local government congresses has to be convoked by the state chairman of the party, and stated those that are members. And that role of national in that is more of observation. And in our own Congress, members of the national were also there. So it's not purely a state affair. The way you are putting it seems that the state, deviated. Members of the national were also in our own Congress. But this Congress was following the directive and the constitution of the party and the advice of INEC, asking the party to obey the decision of the court. There was no time the court said you should not go ahead and hold your Congress. Only what the court said, use the correct list.
Meanwhile, there is yet another twist to the People's Democratic Party's legal tussle. Justice Ngejua of the Federal High Court sitting in Awka Judicial Division has granted an order stating that status quo should be maintained pending the hearing and determination of the originating summons by Senator Ogochukwu Ubah and Mr. Valentine Ozigbo's battle for the PDP ticket. The matter was adjourned to September the 21st for hearing of all pending applications. Well, when the news at 10 returns, the president urges synergy among federal agencies to actualize his vision of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty within 10 years. Plus, mining sector gets a boost as UK firm moves to invest $50 million in gold exploration in the country. But that's some business news. Join us again. The Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered the former governor of Adamawa State, Murtala Nyako, to enter his defense in the 29 billion naira fraud case brought against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. In his ruling, Justice Okonabeng dismissed his no-case submission. The EFCC is prosecuting the former governor alongside his son, Abdulaziz, and two companies on a 37-count charge of money laundering, criminal conspiracy, stealing, and abuse of office. In more legal stories, a Chief Magistrate Court sitting in the Yaba area of Lagos has granted bail to 48 Yoruba Nation agitators arrested and detained by the Lagos Police Command. Chief Magistrate Adeola Adeyeye granted them bail after listening to the application by their counsel, Mr. Olashupojo, who argued, amongst other things, that there was no charge yet preferred against the agitators by the police. At the last sitting of the court on July the 5th, the magistrate granted bail to one of the agitators, who was a lawyer. The other 48 who were granted bail today got bail in the sum of 300,000 naira each, with two sureties. Well, for more on the news at 10, let's cross over to our Abuja studio where Linda Akibe is sitting by. Good evening, Linda.
Good evening, Kayode. President Buhari has directed all the federal government agencies and institutions to work in synergy towards diversifying Nigeria's economy. The president was speaking in Daura while commissioning an organic integrated farm estate established by the National Land Development Authority at Suduje community located on the outskirts of his hometown Daura, Katsina State. The farm has a capacity to generate over 1.7 billion naira in the first year. The president again reiterated his promise to lift more than 100 million Nigerians out of poverty.
On this ground lies a potential investment that could generate 1.7 billion naira annually. Little wonder agriculture is described as the next best thing after oil. This is the Organic Integrated Farm Estate, a brainchild of the National Land Development Authority, NALDA. The farm estate, sited at Suduje community on the outskirts of Daura, has the capacity to engage 1,500 women. And when it comes to the animals, it comprises poultry pens, cow and goat pens, rabbitries, bee apiaries, and fish ponds. Here to commission the farm estate is the President, Muhammadu Buhari, accompanied by the Katsina and Jigawa state governors, Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, among other dignitaries.
In 2015,
the Executive Secretary of NALDA highlights the prospects of the project.
This farm is designed as a cyclical, where every process is part of a value chain. It is divided into 80 hectares for crop production and 20 hectares for animal production, processing and packaging, with growing of feeds, which include recycling of animal waste as fertilizer for plants and growing plants to feed the animals.
The governor of Katsina State, Aminu Masari, expresses readiness to partner with NALDA and to provide whatever is required to make the investment a success.
The approach of NALDA in this is highly commendable, and we will partner as a state government. We will make sure that whatever is required to make this investment a success, we will provide, inshallah.
After the commissioning and inspection, President Muhammadu Buhari directs all federal government agencies and institutions to work in synergy towards diversifying the country's economy.
I am confident that Nigeria under my watch will achieve food security in producing most of what we eat. In good harvest here, we may even export our surpluses and earn foreign exchange.
President Buhari also inspected the ongoing construction of Duberam Solar Irrigation System as Duberam Dam, located at Sharawa Village in Daura, Katsina State, a project aimed at achieving food security.
The Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, has been talking tough on the menace of cultism across the state. That's because the Shagamu area of the state has been notorious for cultism, leading to avoidable loss of lives in recent times. And the governor says the perpetrators will be made to face the consequences of their actions. He made the comments during a rally of the All Progressives Congress after his working visit to the local government. The governor also announced the setting up of a special task force on cultism. He, however, threatened that owners of homes harboring cultists in the state would be prosecuted, while such buildings shall be demolished to serve as a deterrent to others.
In the last 2 weeks, cult activities in Shagamu have been very embarrassing. However, this administration is up to the task. And let me tell you one thing. Ogun State is called the gateway state for a reason. And that reason is because you cannot go from Lagos to any part of this country without passing through the state. That is why we have become the industrial capital of this country. Because of that, any act of cultism or insecurity is a sabotage against the economy of this state. And I will deal with those people decisively. I'm telling you now.
Victims of a defunct SARS and brutality from other security agencies in Taraba State are asking the federal government to cushion the untold hardship they are facing by compensating them. This is coming 2 months after the judicial panel concluded its sitting on May the 17th, 2021. The victims' Indian numbers gathered in Jalingo, the state's capital, where they demanded that the same measure meted on SARS brutality victims in other states across the country be replicated in Taraba State. And that's all from Abuja. Now to Anne for business news.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Linda. Hello and welcome to Business News. A UK-based company, Aurelia Mining Company Limited, is seeking to invest up to $50 million in exploration of gold in Nigeria. And that's according to the company director, Mr. Julian Mahmoud Hammond. The firm plans to begin exploration activities in 6 months after completing all the necessary legal requirements by the government. While receiving the delegation from the company, the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Mr. Olamileko Adegbite, says the ministry is also seeking to tackle the challenge of leakages in the sector occasioned by activities of illegal miners. An end may be in sight to the long-standing dispute between Owando PLC and the Securities and Exchange Commission, as both parties have reached a settlement on the immediate withdrawal of all legal actions filed by the oil company and all affected directors. In 2019, the Commission found the energy company guilty of serious infractions, which led to the barring of the chief executives from the boards of public companies for 5 years. Part of that settlement also includes payment of all monetary penalties stipulated in the Commission's letter of May the 31st, 2019, and an undertaking by the company to implement corporate governance improvements, among other things. Nigeria's oil output is expected to increase to 1.82 million barrels per day by the month of April next year, and that's coming up from the current level of about 1.4 million barrels per day. This is coming after member countries of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies agreed to increase oil output by an initial 400,000 barrels per day. That increase in Nigeria's crude output, which is seen as a potential game changer for the country's economy, as a higher oil price and output volume are all expected to help boost the forex reserve positions. On Sunday, members of the oil-producing cartel announced the adjustment upward their overall production of 0.4 million barrels per day on a monthly basis, with effect from August and later in December, assess market developments and performance of OPEC member countries. The equities market has started the holiday-shortened week to green. It turned out green today. The all-share index climbed marginally by 0.01%. Laddie Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. Picking up from Friday's positive close, the bull took a step further into winning ways at the equities market, however, with a weak step as the all-share index inched up 0.01%. However, when you take a look at the activity chart, you can see that the volume of shares transactions carried out for the start of the week inched up by some 3.50% at 462.80 million units, all thanks to Jai's Bank, which accounted for about half of the total volume turnover. Flip over to the sectoral performance chart. You can see that all the major counters ended positive except the banking sector due to some profit taking on some of its major components. Well, the stock market will close for a 2-day Muslim festivity, and for now, let's savor the marginal gain recorded today. That's the bull. That's the stock market report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
Thank you, Ladi. On the other hand, major global stock markets ended today's trading session mostly in the red as Delta variant sparks new lockdown fears. Here are the closing numbers for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. It's back to you, Coyote.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, UK, US and EU accuse China of carrying out major cyber attack affecting at least 30,000 organizations globally earlier this year. Plus other international news from our studio in London. Stay with us. Well, China is being accused of a major cyber attack earlier that targeted Microsoft Exchange servers and affected at least 30,000 organizations globally. The UK has put the blame squarely on Chinese state-backed actors, while the European Union says the attack came from the territory of China. But China has denied being part of what it calls reckless behavior. Simon Pusey has more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A new report suggests that rights activists, journalists and lawyers around the world have been targeted with phone malware sold to authoritarian governments by an Israeli surveillance firm. The list of some 50,000 phone numbers of people believed to be of interest to clients of the company were leaked to major news outlets. The company said it is intended for use against criminals and is made available only to military, law enforcement and intelligence agencies from countries with good human rights records. The software known as Pegasus infects iPhones and Android devices to enable operators to extract messages, photos and emails and secretly activate cameras. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has urged caution as most legal restrictions on social contact are lifted in England. There are now no limits in England on how many people can meet or attend events. Nightclubs are reopening at midnight and table service will not be necessary in pubs and restaurants. Face coverings will be recommended in some spaces but not required by law. Some scientists are predicting that UK infections could reach 200,000 a day later in the summer. The leader of the opposition party has called the move reckless. Flash floods have hit parts of southern Germany, killing at least one person and adding to the devastation after floods and landslides in the country killed more than 150 people. Video posted on social media showed torrents of water cascading through a road in Bad Schandau in eastern Germany. The death toll on Sunday was 156, the country's worst natural disaster in almost 6 decades. Hundreds of people were still missing or unreachable as several areas were inaccessible due to high water levels, while communication in some places was still down. Meanwhile, torrential floodwaters tore through the Austrian town of Hallein near Salzburg during the weekend as the Salzach River burst its banks after heavy rains. Large parts of Russia are alight as a total of 419 wildfires in various regions of the country have been recorded in the past 24 hours. Smoke from wildfires covered the Siberian city of Yakutsk on Sunday, where people were advised by the mayor to stay home and not open windows as the region fights unprecedented blazes, which the government blames on climate change. Fires tear through Russian forest land every year, but they have become more intense in recent seasons amid unusually high temperatures across the northern Siberian tundra. An American father and son have been sentenced for their role in ex-Nissan chief Carlos Ghosn's escape from Japan in 2019. The Tokyo court sentenced US Special Forces veteran Michael Taylor to 2 years in prison. His son Peter was handed a term of 1 year and 8 months. The pair were extradited from the US over claims they smuggled Mr. Ghosn out of Japan in a luggage box on a private jet as he awaited trial. They were accused of receiving $1.3 million for their services. Ethiopia has nearly completed the filling of a huge dam on the Blue Nile River for a second year, that's according to state media. Addis Ababa says the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a $4 billion hydropower project, is crucial to its economic development. The project has caused concern over water shortages and safety in Egypt and Sudan, which also depend on Nile's waters. Egypt said last month it had received official notice from Ethiopia that it had begun filling the reservoir for a second time and said it rejected the move. South African authorities are investigating whether a chemical spill in the coastal city Durban was caused by a fire at a warehouse during violent unrest last week. Protests broke out after the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma and, fueled by other grievances, descended into looting and arson. More than 200 people were killed and hundreds of businesses destroyed, with much of the violence focused on Zuma's home province where Durban is located. Other possible causes for the spill are being investigated, and local residents have been urged not to use beaches in the area. And finally, check out these pictures of a massive sandstorm that has engulfed Gansu province in northwest China. The storm generated a huge wall of sand, dozens of meters high, which hampered visibility and disrupted traffic on a major highway. Local weather authorities issued a yellow warning for the sandstorm, while local traffic police conducted patrols on the highway to keep vehicles off the roads. Sandstorms are common in China. In March, the worst sandstorm in a decade hit Beijing, forcing airlines to ground hundreds of flights. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. With just days to go until the start of the Tokyo 2020 Games, the Olympic flame continued its restricted journey through the Japanese capital. The torch relay has traveled through every prefecture in Japan over the last few months and will visit different parts of Tokyo until the Games begin on Friday. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach has visited the Olympic Village to sign a truce mural alongside leading Tokyo 2020 organizers. Mr. Bach insists that the Olympics was intended to promote peace between nations and show that people can compete for the highest prize whilst also living under one roof at the Olympic Village.
We are inaugurating the Olympic Truce mural here in the beating heart of the Olympic Games, the Olympic Village. It is here where the Olympic spirit comes to life. The athletes show us that despite all our differences, it is possible for humankind to live together in peace. This is our Olympic message.
Deontay Wilder's fiancée, Taylor Swift, has accused Tyson Fury of buying time after their trilogy bout was pushed back until October because the Briton contracted COVID-19. Fury was fully expected to recover just in time for the next grudge match, but he argued that he would have handed Wilder an advantage by missing out on days of training. Formerly Italy midfielder Gennaro Gattuso says he's disappointed to miss out on the chance to take over at Tottenham this summer. Well, Gattuso was one of the contenders for the role following Jose Mourinho's departure, but a strong backlash from fans eventually saw Spurs decide to look elsewhere. And that's a wrap on sports news.
Well, thank you, Ayo. And the main news again. The Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Lucky Rabo, today said the Nigerian military remains committed to clearing bandits in the northwest. He said Sunday's attack on an Air Force jet in Zamfara State will not deter the ongoing operations against bandits. And that's the news at 10. Thank you for watching. I'm Kaido Kikilu. Good night.